Guy, we do not know. We also know that Secretary of State carries suspects in overseas connections.
We just had a young person who went to Russia and Chechnya who blew people up in Boston. So he didn't stay where he went, but he learned something where he went, and he came back with a willingness to kill people.
There's also the shadowy figure known as Misha, the Russian name would be Mikhail or Michael, who may have helped radicalize the older brother. Again, may have. Also, late word that the suspect's father, but not the mother, who's wanted on shoplifting charges here, will be flying to Boston possibly tomorrow or Friday. Additionally, we're learning more about how the two brothers lived and, crucially, where they got their money, allegedly from selling drugs. Now, that is a theory that law enforcement is working on. They don't have specific evidence on that yet. We'll find out more details tonight. Many new developments, as well as this. Boylston Street, which has been a crime scene for a week and a half, became a city street again. There's a memorial set up along Copley Square. We're just a few blocks from there. The scars obviously remaining, but this is part of the strong city is no longer, an open wound. And earlier today, more than 4,000 people, singer James Taylor included, gathered to remember fallen MIT police officer Sean Collier. Murders, the suspects fled last Thursday. Vice President Biden was at the service, calling the bombing suspects, quote, two twisted, perverted, cowardly, knockoff jihadis. So what did authorities here and there know about the pair, especially the older one who traveled to Russia last year for 6 months and was on the radar of Russian intelligence a year before that? Breaking news tonight from Nick Pavement-Walsh, who's in Russia's Dagestan region, and from Joe Johns and chief political analyst Gloria Borger for us tonight in Washington. Joe, we begin with you. We knew the FBI was approached by the Russians in early 2011 to check out the older brother Tamerlan, saying he was flirting with extremism. Now you're hearing the CIA was also approached later that year by the Russians. What happened?
That's right, Anderson. CIA says it nominated and put his name up as a candidate for a terror watch list system. It's our understanding the agency's involvement actually led to an entry into one of the databases. It also says it shared his information with other agencies and departments, which we believe to be the State Department, Homeland Security, FBI, and the National Counterterrorism Center. And we understand CIA gave out different possible spellings of his name and two possible dates of birth, Anderson.
Gloria, at this point, do we know what the Russians said to the U.S. about this guy, about the quality of the information coming from the Russians?
Here's what we know. We know that the information was spin. We know that the Russians, I'm told, are not likely to give up their sources to us, that they're more formal about this, and that when the United States authorities went back to them on more than one occasion and asked for more information, I'm told they did not get a case report back to us. But having said that, Anderson, the fact that this information was coming from the Russians at all should raise a red flag.
What about the money here? I mean, there is a money trail here that has to be followed. It doesn't appear to be an expensive plot. But you got some information about, or at least a theory that law enforcement is working with, about how the older brother Tamerlan might have either financed this plot or financed his income, his trip to Russia.
Right. They call it a working theory. Investigators are looking into whether he sold drugs as a way to earn some income. We know that he had a wife who worked. We know that the family was on welfare until 2012. As you point out, Anderson, this is not a really expensive plot, not an expensive bomb, but he did go back to Russia, and he had to finance that somehow and help his family while he was gone for 6 months, right?
Right, and it also just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, this is a guy who's married, has a small child. What, he up and tells his wife, oh, I'm leaving to Russia to, rediscover my roots for 6 months? I'm going to leave you with this little kid, fend for yourselves? I mean, there's a lot of questions. Obviously, we don't know about the 6-month period in Russia. Joe, do we know what piqued the Russians' interest in the first place? I mean, I know Gloria said they keep things close to the vest, but do we know why they were suspicious enough to alert U.S. officials?
Well, the best thing we have on that, Anderson, is the FBI's narrative, and they say Russia had information that Tsarnaev was planning to go there, planning to travel there, and he was going to somehow join up with some unspecified underground groups. They say they made the request because he was a follower of radical Islam, strong believer he changed drastically since 2010, Anderson.
Nick, in Dagestan, earlier Russian media had been reporting that the mother and father of these two brothers were headed to the U.S. tomorrow. Now you're finding out something different. It's just one person is allegedly going to come to the United States.
That's correct, Anderson. Information about this changing all the time during this week. But the last I heard from head of Saratova, it's become kind of a representative, a human rights worker assisting the family, is that only the father will be going to the United States and he'll be travelling after tomorrow. So that could be Friday or perhaps late. Russian state media saying they were both going at some point today, Thursday, here in Russia. Much confusion about this. It's not clear if the mother is not going for some personal reason or perhaps because of any potential outstanding charges. Anderson?
There was an arrest warrant, or there is an arrest warrant, I should say, out for the mother on shoplifting charges and also destruction of property charges. Do we know if that played a part of her decision not to come? Because she could be arrested and very likely would be arrested if she came to the United States.
When I spoke to her, she was very emotional about her sons. I can imagine in her heart, I'm sure that's exactly what she wants to do, to go to the US to perhaps partake in the burial that may be forthcoming. But this could be an issue. She hasn't been specific about that, but certainly at this point, the father going alone does give credence to the potential threat of some sort of legal action. And much of the conversation we've been hearing the past week from neighbours and friends has sort of suggested that it may just have been the father going back to the US, Anderson.
And Gloria, as Jeff Toobin pointed out, our legal analyst pointed out earlier in the 8 o'clock hour, even if the father does come, there's no guarantee that he has no right to actually meet with his son. And even if he did, law enforcement could very easily eavesdrop on that, listen into that, and anything that was discussed would be information that they can use. There's no privileged conversation between a father and a son. You've also got some information, Gloria, about the kinds of questions that investigators are now asking about the brothers and their families. What are you hearing?
Right, and first of all, they're also asking questions about the Russians because we don't know, for example, Anderson, whether they were monitoring Tamerlane when he went to Dagestan. So we don't know the answers to those questions.
And so you know, on the news earlier, half an hour ago, they said that
they've been persecuted. They obviously want to talk to the wife about what she knew.
he got his Miranda rights read to him. The judge was there and stopped them talking to the suspect now. So you guys know. And now he has an attorney and the judge was there, and so now they can't ask him any questions right now. They have to ask the lawyer because his Miranda rights got read. And that was like half an hour ago.
And I know I talked to Nick Robertson earlier, who's also in Dagestan.
Just wanted to keep you guys up.
There is